Good afternoon, folks. Chief Meteorologist Nick Lilliga here with a look at your tropical update for October 8th of 2019, brought to you by the good folks at Pine Belt Gutters and Remodeling. And hey, they do roofing too. I don't know what they don't do. They're helping us out with these tropical updates too, so they're just doing pretty much everything. Into the Gulf of Mexico we go. We're nice and clear for the most part. We got some thunderstorm activity down into the Bay of Campeche, and then just a mess of stuff that was hanging out in the straits between Florida and Cuba that's lifted off to the north and east. We'll talk more about that in a second. A wider view shows that cluster of storms, another one to the north of that, one actually back in behind the banner. We've got a little wave out here just hanging out to the south of the Greater and Lesser Antilles. It's kind of sagging into parts of northern South America. Another little cluster of storms into the Caribbean and then out into the open Atlantic. We've got a reasonably healthy looking wave yesterday that just crumbled out here. It's just not a very hospitable environment coming off of the coast of Africa. We've got another wave out here as well, and then one that's coming off the coast shortly too. So there's still activity out there. It's just struggling to get moving. All right. Closer to home, here we go. A 40% chance of development here as this little cluster of thunderstorm activity, speaking of clusters, moves off to the northeast. I think this one's been tagged with an invest designation. I want to say it's 92. We've got this one just off to the north of that, so they're kind of sitting right along the same area, right along the same little boundary, with a 10 to 30% chance. By the way, 40 and 40, 10 and 30. And I don't know, that's not going to let me drag it. There's actually another one out toward Bermuda with a 40% chance of development as well, though we're not going to talk about that one right now because it does very little impact to us. These two guys that you see out here are probably going to kick up the tides along the east coast, but that's probably about it. You can see they get kind of wrapped up with each other as they make their way kind of on a line from about, back in behind the banner here, about Newark roughly. And then here's the other one out here. A whole mess of dry air out into the open Atlantic. However, keep your eyes out here, folks, as we head through the next couple of days. Our two invests here get near Boston, but really nothing doing. We got dry air back in behind that. More dry air out toward Puerto Rico. Into the Caribbean, we take a gander and a look-see, and we end up with something, and it shows it kind of lifting off of northern South America, but I actually tend to think that this is going to be more from the Central American gyre than from a wave that's floating around near northern South America and Venezuela and everything. It shows right now the modeling takes it into basically the Yucatan Peninsula and Belize. We'll have to see on this one. The models have been kind of flopping back and forth. A couple of them have said, all right, let's take it off to the north and across Cuba, the Bahamas, and then back out to sea. Others take it again into the Yucatan, like you see here. A few of them took it into the Gulf of Mexico and toward Mexico or South Texas. Others still have it not really develop and kind of lift off almost due north. So the jury is still out on where this thing's going to go, what this thing's going to be, because it is still, I mean, here we are looking at about the 15th, 16th, 17th of October, and we're sitting here at the 8th. So almost 10 days out. But nevertheless, this is kind of what I was talking about the other day on the news. I was mentioning, hey, in about 10 days, we're going to have to watch about something toward the Central American gyre down here. That's that. Behind that, we've got another wave trying to come off the coast of Africa, but folks, we're getting into October, and this gets more and more difficult to do each passing day. So there's a pretty sharp drop-off for stuff coming off of the coast of Africa as we head through kind of mid-September through early October. Like every single day, it gets more and more and more difficult to have that happen. We've actually got to watch stuff that happens a little bit closer to home. We'll run this thing out through about the 18th, and notice that once it gets toward Mexico, this thing doesn't really move much as it kind of gets hung up. We got a couple of fronts that pass through the area and kind of knock it around a little bit, but don't really pick it up and take it with it. It just kind of ends up hanging out down here and not really doing much. Outside of that, nothing doing into the open Atlantic. And again, we'll keep tabs on this, but I'm more surprised to see something out here in the modeling than I am concerned at all at this point. So there's a look at your tropical update again for October 8th of 2019, brought to you by the folks at Pine Belt Gutters.